I didn't even get a minute to sit down and to catch my breath. But thank you. Mamai Flabo. Awa. Spider, what are people? Tomateli. Peter Linet la pa boy. Isali panet. Mamai Flabo. All right. Madame Flabo. C'est nom Flabo. C'est jeunesse Flabo. All right. Bon, mani pour me Linet la. Mais si sal. Pour me sa web. Fija isot. Okay. Thank you for having me here today, especially in the community that is closest to my own. Anybody who have heard me speak, you will hear the passion that I have for the people of the South. Bon, when I met someone, I walk away me. When I met someone, I play with her, but wow, I was just speaking to some ladies on my way inside, and it's not looking bright. It's not good at all. When I hear the things that we have to go through, and not just ladies, young people, men, our society on a whole. But I will focus in and zoom in on women this evening because I believe that women are the cradle of society. There isn't anything that happens in our community, in our society, that does not affect women. Every single one of us has a mother. Good, bad, or indifferent. We were raised by a mother. And so, some of us, if we weren't raised by a mother, it's because our mother, unfortunately, was not there with us. Maybe she's deceased or she had to migrate to make a better way of living for us. But all of us have a mother. And when we hear of the crime and violence that has taken over our country, I know mothers feel the pain. Today I want to talk about a reality that is far too common in our society. One that is often hidden behind closed doors, shrouded in silence and fear. It's the reality of crime and the particular ways it impacts women in our communities, in our homes, in our churches, in our schools, especially those in our outlying districts. It is time we bring these issues to light and commit ourselves to creating real change. Earlier, you would have heard Spider touch on Vieux-Fort and its being deemed an escalated crime zone up to a day like today. This is a scourge that Vieux-Fortians have to live with. And not just Vieux-Fortians, because when something happens and occurs and hits the South, it hits all of us Southerners, not just Vieux-Fortians. It hits us, it hits home in Labrie, in Bellevue, in Choiseul, in Micoud. It hits home for us in the South. C'est qu'on l'a maman ni ni quatre hish et que bagay wive yon y affecté tout. So I stand before you today to speak about this pressing issue that affects each and every one of us. Its devastating impact on families and especially on women who, as I said, are the cradle of society. In the last 3 years, we have recorded the loss of almost 300 young men to violence. Crime is not just a statistic. It is a harsh reality that affects people, real families, and leaves lasting scars on our communities. When crime strikes, it tears through the very heart of a family. It creates an environment of fear, uncertainty, and grief that can last for years. Crime hits all of us and affects all of us. I remember a few years ago, the first homicide of the year in January was that of my cousin Marcus. And I could never forget my cousin Brenda screaming in pain when she got the news that her brother had been murdered like a dog in the street. And up to a day like today, 5 years on more, we do not know who did it and why. Every time we see a horse, we are reminded of him. Every birthday, we are reminded of him. And the pain lingers on, and we feel it like a wound, as if we were the very ones who were stabbed. The impact is felt in the loss of loved ones, in the financial strain, and in the deep emotional wounds that never seem to heal. For families, crime means broken homes, empty chairs at the dinner table, and dreams that are suddenly shattered. But while crime affects all of us, it is often women who bear the brunt of its consequences. When violence erupts, women are often the ones left to pick up the pieces, to hold their families together in the face of unimaginable pain. They are the mothers who must comfort their children who have lost a father, the daughters who must care for parents who are grieving, and the wives, the girlfriends who must rebuild a life after the loss of a partner. I have a friend born and raised in Vieux-Fort, not too very far from here, and she has had to relocate her family because of crime, never knowing when that gunshot that she hears at night could penetrate her window, her door, could take the life of one of her children. She's had to move from the home she has known all of her life. For too many women, the fear of crime is a constant companion. They are afraid to speak up when they are hurt, when they are violated, when they see injustice, because they fear that no one will listen, or worse, that speaking out will bring further harm. I am reminded of Mary Ratcliffe. She tried to do something. When she realized her partner was violating her daughter, she did something. She reported and paid for that with her life. This is not what we want for our women. I am reminded too of Belinda Joseph, a young life, a young girl, being snuffed out by the very person who was supposed to protect her. I am reminded of a little girl, a serial runaway, tormented and traumatized because, first of all, she does not know who her father is. She lives in a home where the grandfather in the home could be her father, the father figure in the home could be her father, one of her brothers could be her father, and being pregnant for any one of those persons. So not only does she not know who her father is, her unborn child doesn't know who her father is because of the torment that she has to go through every day, being violated by the very men who are supposed to take care of her. This is not the life that we want for our women and our children. This fear is not unfounded. We have seen women who have been subjugated to rape and incest, living with a burden no one should have to carry. They suffer in silence, their cries unheard, their dignity stolen, and their pain dismissed. I know of a young woman who was burnt, hot water thrown on her, because she dared to speak out about what her partner was doing. And she can't really speak out because she's an alcoholic. And nobody listens. Nobody pays attention. I have a cousin who's deceased now, who had to live her life, her adult life, in pain because of what happened to her as a child, using promiscuity and decadence into alcoholism and eventual death. And these things don't only affect the common women and the common man in the common homes, in the districts, out districts, you know. It happens among men and women in high positions, high places. Who can forget the former minister and the alleged rape of his colleague? We cannot forget these things because it impacts everybody. It's like a ripple effect. It does not discriminate. Imagine the fear and anguish of a mother who watches helplessly as her child becomes a victim of violence, as young lives are snatched away by the senseless acts of crime. Imagine the heartbreak of a woman who loses her child to a stray or worse, a targeted bullet, or who must bury a son or daughter who had their whole future ahead of them. This is a pain no mother should endure, and yet it happens far too often. We remember Mello. We remember the 2-year-old from Vieux-Fort. For many women, the threat of crime is not just something that happens to those around them. It is something they live with every day, walking home at night, running a small business, even being in their own homes. Too often, women must look over their shoulders, fearing for their safety. This is not the world we want for our mothers, our sisters, or our daughters. And even as they navigate this violence, many of these women struggle with a lack of economic opportunities. For too many women, especially those in rural areas, finding a job is a constant uphill battle. Without steady work, they are unable to provide for their families. They cannot afford to send their children to school to put food on the table. The children suffer not because their mothers lack love, but because they lack the means. And I could go on and on about the elderly who have to descend to stealing, to taking care of their grandchildren because their mothers are unable. It is a failure of our society when those who should be enjoying their golden years must instead struggle to survive. It is easy for some to turn a blind eye because they can afford. It is easy to say that these women should be stronger, that they should speak up or find another way. But let me tell you this, strength is not what these women lack. What they lack is support, opportunities, and a society that truly cares for their well-being. The economic impact of crime is so profound. When women lose a partner or family member to violence, they often face a sudden and overwhelming financial burden. But my friends, while the challenges are great, so too is our power to change this reality. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye anymore to the violence that threatens our families and our communities. We must come together to create a safer society for all, one where women can live without fear, where children can dream without the shadow of violence hanging over their heads, and where every family can thrive without the constant threat of crime. We need policies to protect our families, to ensure swift justice for those who harm our communities. We must do better. We must create safe spaces where women can speak out without fear of retaliation. We need stronger protections and a legal system that takes crime like rape and incest seriously, ensuring that justice is served swiftly. Ladies, gentlemen, let us continue in this struggle for justice, for safety, and for a brighter future for every woman, every child, and every family in our nation. Thank you. And let us keep fighting for a future where safety is a right, not a privilege, where every woman, every family can live together without fear. Together, we can make that future a reality.